This morning, I am immensely humbled and awestruck by this opportunity to preside over a ceremony that honors an immensely great man, one of the best of us, if not the best. Today, it is crucial that we demonstrate due cognizance that Marcus Messiah Garvey represented the best of us. So, to be the master of ceremony for this event, on this, the 136th anniversary of his birth, is not lost on me. Happy birthday to the right, excellent Marcus Messiah Garvey. Hail the man who from decades ago knew that the best was in us and summoned us up, he mighty race. He can accomplish what he will. Today, being His Excellency's birthday, is an opportune time to launch Best in Us Jamaica. As I dare say, no other Jamaican personage better exemplifies the best of us and the best in us. Ladies and gentlemen, I am your cool compere, Scott Edwards, and together we launch Best in Us Jamaica. This ceremony is now in order. At this time, I'm inviting everyone to stand to the singing of the national anthem. Father, bless our land, guide us with thy mighty hand, keep us free from evil cause, be our light through countless hours, to our leaders, great defender, grant true wisdom from above, justice, truth be ours forever, Jamaica, land we love. Jamaica, 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 land we love. Teach us true respect for all, stir response to duty's call, strengthen us the weak to cherish, give us vision lest we perish, knowledge send us, Heavenly Father, grant true wisdom from above, justice, truth be ours forever, Jamaica, land we love. Jamaica, 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 land we love. You may be seated. And now I will take the opportunity to honor the greatest hero of all. We must rely heavily on Almighty God to see us through every valley, every mountain, every spot of trial, and every spot where dreams are realized. So this morning, most awesome Father, Jehovah is your name, and who we can run to when our hearts are overwhelmed. We thank you for being our shade and refuge. We thank you for being good to us. This morning, we lift up our leaders of our country. Heavenly Father, we ask that you hold their hands. We humbly ask that you will minister to every worker in government, be it education, health, tourism, agriculture, and all the many others. We sincerely request your abounded favor. Merciful, loving, compassionate Father, we ask that you will uphold the young people of our land. Remind them that you love them. Fight their battles for them as many destructive spirits linger to destroy them. We call forth for the anointing of godly fear that will cause them to rise up and be counted, not so much to be outstanding, but to stand out for decency, honesty, for maintaining sound integrity, good morals, and to wave high the banner of the highest level of patriotic pride. We ask, Almighty God, that you will take this entire proceeding in your hands, and that we will accomplish that which we seek to establish. We pray, God, that like our heroes, may all those who come behind us find us faithful. These and other mercies we ask. In Jesus' name, amen. Coming to us at this time with a reading of proclamation, Marcus Garvey Day, is Major Ephraim White, OD. Major Ephraim White is the son of a Garveyite, Mr. Eustace White, who worked closely with the Garvey family in the Universal Negro Improvement Association and the African Communities League in Kingston, Jamaica. Major White continues the tradition of educational activities based on the philosophy of Marcus Garvey and is co-founder of the Marcus Garvey in Schools Foundation. He joined the Jamaica Defense Force in 1967, attaining the rank of major, and was the first commanding officer of the JDF Air Wing. Major White became a commercial pilot on Air Jamaica and flew Caribbean Airlines for over a total of 34 years. He has been a member and president of the Rotary Club of Kingston. Major White was conferred with National Honor Order of Distinction, Officer Class in 2014. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Major Ephraim White. Please make him welcome.
Mr. Master of Ceremonies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. A proclamation by His Excellency the Most Honorable Sir Patrick Linton Allen, Member of the Order of the Nation, Knight Grand Cross of the Most Distinguished Order of St. Michael and St. George, Commander of the Order of Distinction, Governor General. Whereas it is the desire of the people of Jamaica to pay tribute to those persons whose contributions to the development of Jamaica has been outstanding in a manner that allows our people to show greater appreciation to them and celebrate their contribution in a more meaningful way. And whereas the Right Excellent Marcus Messiah Garvey was an articulate and relentless advocate who during his entire life took unto himself the concerns of the poor, oppressed black people of Jamaica and the world, traveling extensively across several continents in his quest to bring change to their circumstances, while also providing leadership among his people in Jamaica and abroad, and promoting black pride and consciousness among the masses of the people worldwide. And whereas the Right Excellent Marcus Messiah Garvey established several institutions, foremost among which was the Universal Negro Improvement Association, African Communities League, and created organizations to represent the cause of African people and enhance their lives, and was vilified, victimized, arrested, and imprisoned for the cause, as the rulers of the day sought to suppress and silence him. And whereas the Right Excellent Marcus Messiah Garvey was heralded by black freedom fighters and leaders across the world for his enduring vision of a united Africa and for the concept of Africa for Africans at home and abroad, and also as the architect of the Pan-Africanist movement, and he's celebrated worldwide for his lifelong mission and sacrifice. And whereas the Jamaican government in 1968 conferred upon the Right Excellent Marcus Messiah Garvey the Order of the Nation, the Order of National Hero for his outstanding contribution to national development. And whereas it is deemed fitting for a day to be set aside for the focusing of attention on the outstanding contribution of the Right Excellent Marcus Messiah Garvey, and whereas on the 13th day of August 2012, in the year of the celebration of Jamaica's 50th anniversary of independence and the 125th anniversary of the Right Excellent Marcus Messiah Garvey's birth, the Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Most Honorable Portia Simpson Miller, ON, MP, after consultation with the members of the Cabinet, decided that the 17th day of August of each year, being the anniversary of the birth of the Right Excellent Marcus Messiah Garvey, is appropriate as a day to be set aside for the focusing of attention on the outstanding contribution of the Right Excellent Marcus Messiah Garvey, and shall not be a public holiday. And whereas the Prime Minister was so advised, now, therefore, I, Patrick Linton Allen, member of the Order of the Nation, Knight Grand Cross of the Most Distinguished Order of St. Michael and St. George, Commander of the Order of Distinction, Governor General of Jamaica, do hereby proclaim and make known that the 17th day of August in each year shall be designated as Marcus Garvey Day, and shall so be observed. Given order my hand at King's House this 16th day of August in the year of our Lord 2012. Happy Marcus Garvey Day. Thank you.
Okay, before we continue, just to indicate that there's a slight change on the program. So we will be having Dr. Honorable Julius Garvey, and then following Dr. Garvey, we'll be having the welcome by Miss Joy E. Douglas. As a graduate from Wolmer's Trust High School for Boys in Kingston, Jamaica in 1950, Dr. Julius Garvey earned his Bachelor's of Science degree from McGill University in Montreal, Canada in 1957, and his MD-CM degree from McGill University Faculty of Medicine in 1961. Dr. Garvey began his medical career by interning at the Royal Victoria Hospital in Montreal in 1961. In 1962, he began his first residency in general surgery at the Mount Sinai Hospital of New York, completing his residency in 1965 in thoracic and cardiovascular surgery at the University of Maryland Hospital in Baltimore, Maryland, 1970. He became an instructor in surgery at the Columbia University College of Physicians and Surgeons in 1971. He later joined the Albert Einstein College of Medicine as an instructor in surgery, where he became assistant professor of surgery and in 1988 associate professor of surgery. Whilst teaching at Columbia University and at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine, Dr. Garvey served as an attending surgeon in cardiothoracic surgery at the Harlem Hospital Center and Montefiore Hospital, as well as associate attending and head of thoracic surgery at the Montefiore Morrisania affiliate. In 1974, Dr. Garvey was named attending in charge of thoracic surgery at Queen's Hospital Center, in addition to serving as an attending surgeon in thoracic and cardiovascular surgery at the Long Island Jewish Medical Center. He became the Long Island Jewish Medical Center's acting program director for the Division of Cardiothoracic Surgery from 1980 to 1982 and assistant professor of surgery at State University of New York at Stony Brook from 1978 to 1988. Dr. Garvey started his own private practice in 1983. He served as chief of thoracic and vascular surgery at Queen's Hospital Center from 1993 to 2006 and chief of vascular thoracic surgery at Wyckoff Heights Medical Center from the year 2000 to 2004. In addition to his medical appointments, Dr. Garvey served as an attending surgeon at North Shore University Hospital, Franklin General Hospital, Massapequa General Hospital, Catholic Medical Centers, and Little Neck Community Hospital. He has lectured in agroecology in Ghana, South Africa, Jamaica, and Trinidad. He has lectured annually at the Global Health Catalyst Summit since 2016. In recent years, Dr. Garvey lectures on the life and legacy of his father, the Right Excellent Marcus Messiah Garvey. He also continues to work to secure an exoneration for his father, who was falsely charged and convicted of mail fraud by the United States government. Ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome at this time Dr. Julius Garvey.
Good morning, everyone, and it's indeed a pleasure and privilege for me to be here with you to celebrate my father's 136th birthday. And of course, the launch of George Douglas's program, Best in Us. Certainly, represented in us as Jamaicans. And I think the path that Joy Douglas is taking with her program is long overdue, because we have not really established who and what we are as Jamaicans. Certainly not in terms of what is consistent with our history, because our history is one of rebellion against enslavement, rebellion against colonialism, and intent to shape our own destiny, certainly from an African-centered perspective. And this was mirrored in the life and the character of Marcus Garvey. And character is important because character is what takes you through life. And as my father said, character is the most important possession of any human being, because it's who and what you are on a daily basis. And that also exemplifies the essence of power, because power is your ability to master yourself and to be yourself every single day, 24/7. And if you can be yourself 24/7, then you can win any fight. And as my dad would say, if you have confidence in self, you've won twice in the race of life before you've even started. And he was a man of character. And I think what Joy Douglas is setting out to do is help to build a Jamaican character, because that has gone astray. And unfortunately, we've been imitating the shall we say, the machinations and the directions in which our big brother, the United States, has gone in those particular directions of a hedonistic society, not understanding what the full human being is all about, and not understanding what a true civilization is all about. So I think Joy is advocating for us to create authentic Jamaicans who are, have an understanding of themselves in terms of history, culture, and traditions based on our mother continent, and then being able to teach that structurally so that we end up with citizens who are authentic, with citizens who are, purpose driven, and we have sovereign citizens and a sovereign country. And I think this is really has been lacking in Jamaica. I think our heroes are exemplary in terms of this. What Joyce is trying to do now for the average citizen, shall we say, of the young person in high school and in primary school. So it's a must for Jamaica, because the old values that I grew up with, and I see two of my young buddies there, brother Rupert Lewis and brother F.M. White. I mean, we grew up with certain values, the old school values, and those seem to have gone by the board. We learned those from our parents and our grandparents, and that was the hand-me-downs from our African ancestry. That has not been incorporated into the school system, and I think Joy is addressing that deficiency. So Joy, all power to you. I'm not going to make a speech. I just want to say that, what you're doing is a great work. And what a major White is also doing in terms of teaching Garvey in schools is also a major work. And what Rupert has done over the years in terms of exploring and letting it be known the life and the accomplishments of Marcus Garvey, particularly in the Caribbean, but around the world. So all is not lost. We have certain heroes still among us, and they're carrying on the flag, the red, black, and green, as well as the Jamaican flag. So I'm very proud of what Joy is doing, and I endorse it 100%, and will assist in any way that I can. So happy Marcus Garvey Day to all of you. It's been a pleasure to share these moments. Thank you.
Coming to us at this time with her welcome is Miss Joy Eleanor Douglas. Miss Douglas is a graduate of the University of the West Indies, Mona, where she earned a Bachelor's of Arts with honors in Geography and Social Sciences. At the Graduate School of Public and International Affairs at the University of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, USA, she was awarded the Master of Urban and Regional Planning. Ms. Douglas has worked in various capacities in the public and private sectors, as well as the non-governmental sector for over 40 years. In the public sector, Ms. Douglas gave distinguished service at the Ministry of National Security, the Ministry of Construction, and the Petroleum Corporation of Jamaica. She was the Senior Urban and Regional Planner, Highway 2000 Corridor Development Plan, and served as General Manager for the Urban Development Corporation. Ms. Douglas has been a local and regional consultant working on projects related to urban and regional planning, institutional strengthening, tourism, natural resource management, EIAs, community development, program evaluation, and training. She has had a long-standing relationship with the College of Art, Science, and Technology, now the University of Technology, as adjunct faculty, and also lectured at the University of the West Indies. Ms. Douglas has been instrumental in the environmental movement in Jamaica, holding the distinction of being the first Jamaican representative to the Man and the Biosphere Commission of UNESCO, Paris, France, 2009 to 2012. She also co-founded the Jamaica Conservation and Development Trust and served as its first executive director. Ms. Douglas has served on numerous public sector boards and committees and is presently chairman of several public sector boards. In 2020, Ms. Douglas was awarded the Order of Distinction Officer Class for her contribution to urban and regional development in Jamaica by the Government of Jamaica. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and please make welcome Ms. Joy E. Douglas.
The life and philosophy of national hero, the Right Excellent Marcus Messiah Garvey, has inspired the program Best in Us Jamaica, that is intended to educate Jamaicans about their history and cultural heritage. As Garvey said, a people without the knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. Marcus Garvey would go on to become world-renowned, having founded and launched the Universal Negro Improvement Association, UNIA, in Kingston, Jamaica in 1914, and relaunched it in New York, in the United States, in 1917. Marcus Garvey worked tirelessly in Jamaica, North America, and Britain, and built the UNIA into a formidable organization. Indeed, he was viewed by many as only second to Emperor Haile Selassie of Ethiopia. He died on June 10, 1940, in London. The life of the Right Excellent Marcus Messiah Garvey in many ways represents a bridge to our past, our present, and our future, as we are reminded by his second wife, Mrs. Amy Jakes Garvey, and Jamaican cultural icon, the Honorable Louise Bennett Coverley.
They come to me and they want to get facts about Marcus Garvey, the human side of the man. How did he start off? How did he have these ideas? You see, youth is adventurous. Youth is curious, and especially the youth of today. You see, they mature earlier, and they're learning to think for themselves, and that's a grand thing. Garvey was born a black boy in a small town, St. Anne's Bay, you see, and therefore they're intrigued to find out, how is it that this little black boy, who grew up to manhood, as it were, in Jamaica, an island, and a small island at that, could have this international outlook?
Quite a lot. And my husband, Eric Coverley, he at that time used to do chalk talk. It wasn't my husband then. He was a young chalk talker. And he used to, he did more work at Edelweiss Park after that was opened, you know. And they used to do quite a lot of the concerts there, do his chalk talk, you know, talk and draw things and all, and these things. And there was always something happening there, you know. There was always some cultural activities to do with the black people and to do with the Jamaicans happening there. I can remember one sad time when Garvey came from England, I think, to be put in jail here, or he was put in prison here. And I can remember the crowds of people running behind the car, you know, that he was supposed to have been in, and the people, some of them were crying and all that in the crowd. And after that, our troubadours, Slim and Sam, the people, these were two men who used to make up songs. They made up a song to this tune that was popular there then called Girl of My Dreams. And they sang it, oh Garvey dear, we love you, honest we do, you know. And this was the type of spirit that was going around at the time. Then later on, when I was at secondary school, I can remember Marcus Garvey coming to talk to us at school, you know, one teacher telling us what a great Jamaican this was, and so. And we were very interested in all he had to say about the movement of and the respect and the self-confidence of the black person that the black people, you know, should have, and the pride in their country and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. I can remember a lot of people saying that we must go up to where Marcus Garvey to see the black statue. He had a black statue in the place in the yard, and a lot of people, to them, you know, a lot of people, to them, this was all it meant going there, you know, to see the black statue, because they never saw a black statue before. All the statues were white around town.
Garvey's philosophy and teachings are grounded in his unshakable faith in God, his Christian beliefs, and his commitment to the Negro race.
A Zeppelin submarine can't fight the way of the black and green. Brave, oh Garvey, brave and true. Naturism, oh naturism. Wherever you be, my voice shall plead for Afric's sons equality.
Join us in an exciting journey as we explore the history and cultural heritage of Jamaica in ways that you have not experienced before. Learn about what life was like in the St. Anne's Bay that Marcus Garvey grew up in. Learn about his neighbors, friends, and godfather Alfred Burroughs. See the important sites like Sevilla Nueva and Cloisters that brought young Marcus face to face with the living history of Jamaica that would shape his character and his worldview. Learn about the African American Baptist educator, Booker T. Washington, whose writings and revolutionary educational program for blacks at Tuskegee in the United States was the inspiration for the founding of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, UNIA, in 1914. The Best in Us Jamaica program celebrates Jamaica and Jamaicans, their history and cultural heritage that has impacted the world. Travel with us, and there can be no doubt that you will find the best in yourself in true Jamaican style.
When foreign dignitaries visit here, it will become a great state affair. They got to come with great dignity to Jamaica nation. That will be we. Then we go to meet them with great pomp and style. Regally we'll greet them with our charming smile. A banga langa 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 lang, banga langa langa lang. A banga langa 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 lang, a banga langa 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 lang. In the fire.
Rachel Irving, Dr. Deslandes, who I see have arrived, Major Ephraim White, Mr. Scott Edwards, Moderator, Master of Ceremonies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, friends all, good morning and happy Marcus Garvey Day. On the behalf of the directors of the company, Gertrude and John, I wish to welcome you to the launch of the program Best in Us Jamaica. While not the only focus of our program, as our logo indicates, the Right Excellent Marcus Messiah Garvey is central to our objective of engaging and educating Jamaican youth about our history, and cultural heritage. Why Marcus Garvey? We tend to speak about the philosophy and teachings of Marcus Garvey, and while that is important, we often forget that Marcus was a boy first, a man first, a human being first, before he founded the UNIA and accomplished all the things that we know him for. Marcus Garvey wrote about and spoke about his life since birth. He wanted us to know, to understand who influenced him, what influenced him, his vantage point, his worldview. At a very young age, Marcus had the courage to ask himself the profound questions. Who am I? What is my place in God's creation? His decision to seek answers to those two questions is what led him to the realization that the answer could only be found if he understood the history and cultural heritage of his people. It is for this reason that men like Booker T. Washington, who have had such a profound impact on him, that it is a reason for the launch we have chosen to mount here today. What we have done is to mount an exhibition in the catalog hall of the main library, which we are going to invite you to view after this phase of the program. And this exhibition highlights what he emphasized with his respect to his decision to establish the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League. This, he writes, was as a result of reading Booker T. Washington's autobiography, Up from Slavery. I myself have read the book more than once. It is required reading if you truly wish to understand Marcus Garvey. And might I ask, how many of you have ever read Up from Slavery? You need to change that. If you, it is easy reading, and if you read it, you really begin to understand what Marcus Garvey, the man Marcus Garvey, was about, and why it was that he had such a connection with Booker T. Washington, recalling that Booker T. Washington himself was a slave. He was born a slave and was only freed in 1865 after the Civil War in the United States. The exhibition that we have mounted also brings attention to important institutions that were created prior to the establishment of the UNIA, namely the Board School, now Kingston Technical High School, and the Farm School, now CASE. And we are going to be hearing from Dr. Deslandes shortly. Booker T. Washington was a pioneer educator, and Marcus Garvey believed in the value of education. We have to ask ourselves, however, if these institutions and our system of education today truly meets the needs of the youth and the wider society. For as Washington emphasized, it is not just youth that require education in the building of an equitable and prosperous society. It is all persons who require education. Are we doing that here in Jamaica? Ask yourself. It is also for this reason that our partners CASE, through its president, Dr. Derek Deslandes, and UWI, through my friend and colleague, Professor Rachel Irving, are on the program. Both these partnerships represent our position that in the 21st century, the questions, who am I? What is my place in God's creation? That Marcus Garvey asked over a century ago must be primarily answered through science and technology. This is truly what will make the foundational pillar of self-esteem that is so essential for the youth to grow, thrive, and become valued citizens of this country, more interested and understanding of their own history. We have to get to the youth through what they wish to understand and how they wish to understand. How do I know this? Because we have produced a video. You have seen a short clip of it. The entire video is over 2 hours. And we had some sessions with young people, leaders, young leaders across the island. And what we have found is that young people know very little about the history and cultural heritage of Jamaica. And they're very keen on knowing more. But what they are more concerned about is the fact that they have experienced an unwillingness or inability from the adults who are in positions of authority to effectively engage with them. They feel that they are being spoken at and not consulted with. And so in many instances, they disengage and they are not forthcoming with solutions to issues because they believe that, for the most part, adults are hypocrites and are not prepared to really allow them to express themselves and say what is on their mind. So it is for this reason that Gertrude and John is committed to an approach that treats the youth as equal partners. We are determined to persist with the engagement of the youth because we know, look at Scott here. Scott is my prince. I happen to be the chairman of Spanish Town High School. I cannot attend a function, if I can, without mentioning Spanish Town High School. And Scott was a head boy who attended the MICO after graduation, and he is now back at the school as a guidance counselor. And I am sure you will all agree with me that Scott is a prince, which is what I call my children. They are princes and princesses. And the fact is, all young people really require, and you know, some will say that my school is tough, but I don't find my children any different from any other children, anywhere. They just want opportunities. They have ability. They, however, are subject to structures and systems that oftentimes make them feel less than full citizens of this country. And I say this as their chairman. So I am their absolute defender because I know that I could get 100% out of them if more resources and attention were paid to them because they are entitled to it. Right? I had to get that in. Now, I could continue because, you know, I am immersed in this thing now, as Julius is telling you. I'm really immersed in it because it's so important. Because it's actually, and one day you and I will talk further, it is actually part of professional practice. I'm a planner, as you would have heard, but this matter of education and understanding the cultural heritage and what Marcus Garvey was ahead of his time about is what is going to transform this society. And so we are not, we would be proactive instead of reactive and wasting the limited resources that we do have. So that my children continue to suffer because, of course, they're always at the bottom waiting for something to come. You see? So we have to put an end to this. Now, I want to make another important point, which of course is another dissertation, but I've started to treat it in the exhibition, and it is a matter on which Garvey and Washington were in full agreement. That is the importance of the mother in the history of the Negro race and the need to show reverence to our mothers now and in the future. These men, you heard Dr. Garvey talk about his time, so you can imagine Marcus's time. These men revered their mothers. If you read up from slavery, you'd realize that Booker T. Washington revered his mother because the mother had nothing, but the mother saw to it that whatever she could put together, cobble together when he wanted to go to Hampton to have an education, that she did what she could. And so did Marcus. He revered his mother. And if you read what Marcus writes, he is always talking about the mother, the woman. And so we have a tribute there to the Jamaican higgler, because my friend David will tell you that historically there were and still are male higglers, but it is the women from the time of slavery who put their families and their people on their backs and went to the Sunday market, and after emancipation continued to make the money required to educate their children and their children's children. Who in this room can say that they did not have an ancestor who went to the market? If you put up your hand, I'm going to tell you, go and check the facts. Because somebody in your family packed a hamper at some point and went to the market, and went regularly too, because they had to, because this is how they were supporting. They were supporting you, and you weren't even born yet. So there's a lot that goes on in society now about the role of women and about the role of mothers. And this is a very, very important discussion that needs to be had, and respect is due. And we are going to start this discussion with this exhibition, and we hope to continue it. Now, my final point is to challenge all of you. You have to take responsibility for your family history, because one of the things I have found while I've been on this journey is that you say to someone, what do you know about your family history? And they said, very little. I said, you know, where are your family photos? Somebody threw them away. Even for the exhibition I'm doing, I was asking friends, do you have a scale, you know, the old scale that they used to take to the market and so on? And people said, no, they put that on the garbage truck. That's gone long time. What are we doing? We are throwing away our heritage. Because when the granny is dead, or the auntie, and you go now to clear out the things, and you say, but what sort of karochi she has in here? You know, this jing bang, something that, what is this jing bang? Ask yourself, why was Granny putting away the thing? Why did Granny feel that it was so important? Is this resonating with anybody? You go and you see she put down a little thing, and the thing is so old and tattered, and you're saying, but why did she keep this? The question is, we never take the time to ask. We never, and maybe she was so busy, or it's a cultural thing, she just puts it there. hoping that maybe one day you would ask. You never ask. She goes and you're wondering why it was there. So one of the things that we are really encouraging people to do is to do not wait another day. When you go home, if you have children or grandchildren or other relatives, start talking about the family history. And you will be surprised that you know, even your sister or your brother will say, but I didn't know that. When did Mama do that? Or when did Papa do that? Or so on and so forth. We are not taking enough time. And so as families, you need to become your own historians, your own chronicles of your own story. And you need to respect every photograph, every letter that was sent, everything, and treasure it and seek assistance. People like Dr. Carr here up at the university, they're experts, and they will come and talk to you. I am the chairman of the National Library, and it's their staff here from the National Library, and they may not take the things from you, you know, but if you even go there and say, I have this thing, can you advise me? Am I correct, Mrs. Lawrence Paul? Yes? So I have to put my people on the spot? No, I'm putting them on the spot. And I'm telling you, don't be shy. There is help out there, because you need to know your own history, because this is how you are actually going to reinforce your own self-esteem and the self-esteem of your children and grandchildren. Ours is a rich individual and collective history and cultural heritage. Let us all agree to work together to explore all our roots and face the man in the mirror, just as national hero Marcus Messiah Garvey had the courage to do. Thank you.
At this time, coming to us with a cultural item is Abijah. Born Andrew Smith in Kingston, Jamaica, Abijah is a singer, songwriter, and a producer who was first noticed as a conscious reggae singer when Revelation hit #1 and remained on the Jamaican charts for 30 weeks and was also #1 in Europe, Africa, and Japan. Dubbed the Peace Ambassador in Jamaica, Abijah has visited over 50 schools across the island, inspiring and encouraging the children through songs and speech as a result of the role he played in Jamaica's Healing of the Nation program. In Jamaica, Abijah has performed at the renowned Reggae Sumfest, as well as Rebel Salute, Western Consciousness, and the East Fest, to name a few. He is also the voice and face of the Jamaica Tourist Board. He has also toured extensively overseas, coming to us at this time to showcase his best. Abijah, please make him welcome.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Good morning. How are you feeling? All right. We're just coming from the National US Park. It was a great time there. Miss Joy, thank you so much for inviting me. Yeah. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our mind. The song I'm about to sing is one of my original songs. Came out 21 years ago. My wife and kids are sitting at the back. Some of those kids weren't born yet. Well, none of them. But it was inspired by the great Marcus Garvey movement. Yeah. Yeah. I love a little bit more vibes from a little bit more sound so I can dance, you know? Yeah, Marcus Garvey movement ain't no boring movement, man. The true. Yeah. Oh na 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 na, oh na 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 na. I say, yeah, yeah. Oh, this will be a revelation. Oh, this will be war and frustration. Oh, this will be, it's a revelation. Oh, this gonna be war and frustration. Talk about the problem, brother. Don't you be afraid, Lord. Talk about the system, sister. Don't you be so scared now. They will try to hurt you, and they will throw lies in you. Yes, they're open to take you down. They're open to mash you down. Toward the glorious crown. Separate the darkness from the light. He who created all things, he will end it this all in one night. I said, oh, this will be, it's a revelation. You remember the song? This will be, sing with me. I said, oh, this will be, yeah. Oh, this gonna be, oh, yes. Color is not the problem. It is the heart and mind of men. Money is not the problem. It is of greed and selfishness. War, spiritual war. War is a mental bar. The Lord come down and help us now. Our people have gone astray. Where they have been misled. Where they have been blindfolded. Where the sheep have gone away, not knowing the hour. Nor the day I said, oh, this will be, sing it. Oh, this will be, oh, your children, this will be, yeah, a revelation. We really need a revelation. And this is why we need one love. And I know you know this one. I'm going to close off with this song, and you're all going to sing with me. All right? You're my choir, right? My Marcus Garvey choir. Ready? Hey! One love. Let me hear you now.
Let's get together and feel alright.
Hear the children crying.
Let's
get together and feel
alright.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Let them all pass on their dirty remarks. Is there a question, Joy? I really love to ask. Yeah. Is there a place for that hopeless sinner who have hurt all mankind? Just to serve his own, I tell you, one love, sing it. Let's get, that's what Marcus teaches, you know. Feel alright. Let me hear you shout it. Oh, la 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 la. Singing, give thanks and praise to the Lord, and I will be alright. Yeah, let's get together and feel alright. One more thing. Let's get together to fight this holy Armageddon. When the men come, there will be no doom, yeah. A pity and those whose strength is growing. There is no hiding place from the Father of creation. I want to hear you now, sing along. Let me hear you shouting. Oh, let's get together and we're gonna feel alright. One love, one arm. Give thanks and praise to the Lord, and I will feel alright. Hey, let's get together and feel alright. Hey, give thanks and praise to the Lord, and I will feel alright. One more thing. Let's get together back. I want to hear now. And give thanks and praise to the Lord, and I will. One love, man. Big up on yourself. Yeah.
Can we just put our hands together another time for Abijah? I do trust that you're feeling all right, because we'll be going a little longer than intended, but we are moving down nicely. And so we'll be having greetings at this time coming to us from Dr. Derek Deslandes. Dr. Derek Deslandes is the president of the College of Agriculture, Science and Education, CASE. He is a graduate of the University of the West Indies, Northwestern University's Kellogg Graduate School of Management, and Florida State University's Business School. Dr. Deslandes has more than 20 years of teaching experience at the University of the West Indies and at the Florida State University, and an equal number of years serving as a consultant within both the private and public sectors. He has taught international business, marketing, consumer behavior, and marketing research in several MBA programs in Jamaica. He has also published and presented papers on foreign direct investment, country branding, destination choice, destination image locally, regionally, and internationally. Dr. Deslandes currently sits as a member of the National Council on Education and chairs the Jamaica Dairy Development Board. As CEO of Jamaica's top agricultural college, Dr. Deslandes is vigorously pursuing the vision of transforming CASE into a technology-driven educational institution and leading it towards achieving university status. He is firmly committed to exposing students to the most advanced practices in agriculture, education, and hospitality, and equipping them to provide support for farmers and other stakeholders in allied sectors such as tourism, business, and the field of science. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and make welcome Dr. Derek Deslandes.
I found something. I was told to ditch a jacket and tie, so which I'm out. So here it is. Mr. Master of Ceremonies, and Mr. Scott Edwards. Great so far. Major, if I'm white, I haven't seen him for a long time, but we need to reconnect. Professor Rachel Irving. And I'm looking for the great one. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, absolutely. Professor Rupert Lewis, who I've known from my 20 plus years lecturing at the University of West Indies. In fact, I was a student for 3 years and a staff for 20 plus years. And in fact, I left UWI on secondment to CASE on the invitation of the, at the time, minister and the principal, because I believe that I could have added some value. Interestingly, Joy, when you talk about going to market, it touched a chord, because as my mother used to spend years and years and years and years, Ocherios, Spanish Town, Coronation Market. So as a youngster, I knew those markets inside out. But not only that, the burden of, I was a donkey, as you talk about the lead and donkey prosperity. I wish I had prosperity back then, because I was the prosperous one. I was the one taking out all the stuff out of the bush and whatever. So it really struck a chord. But and in many respects, Joy, what you're doing now is nothing happens before the time, I must tell you. Very, very timely. Because there are so many dimensions that emerges from this. And when you approach me in terms of partnering with you on this, you kind of forced me to go back and start to read quite a bit, about some of the connections. As has been indicated here, Case was born in 1910. So Case would have been in the middle of that relationship between Tuskegee, Marcus Garvey, that whole movement. And so I'm now trying to figure out, what is that relationship? How did Case become established? What were the factors that drove that establishment? And I'm sure we'll begin to see some of those connections. Because in the 70s and the 60s, there was a straight relationship between Case. Well, it was Case, then it became the Jamaica School of Agriculture, then became the College of Agriculture, and then Case. Right? So that has been a bit of the history. But as the Jamaica School of Agriculture, which started in 1941, up to 1979, there was a straight relationship between Tuskegee and Case. So students at Case literally walked into Tuskegee and got credit for what they were taught at Case. Now that relationship has dissipated somewhat, and we're trying to rebuild now. And so in fact, in reaching out, we have now connected with about 5 of the 1890 institutions. And I actually want to share, because now we seem to have come back full circle. So Prairie View, Delaware State, Kentucky State, Lincoln University, Langston, these are all part of the 1890 that would have emerged from that Tuskegee experiment, right? And so Case has now reconnected with those institutions, focusing on research in some critical areas. One of those areas, interestingly, is small ruminants. And in fact, this year at Denby, Case was a champion goat exhibitor at Denby, because we have now recognized the importance of reconnecting with the small farmers throughout the country, and recognize that there are some critical pieces of the puzzle. I know I'm doing a greeting, but it's important to kind of share a little bit of this. That there are some critical pieces of the puzzle that ties into the economic development of the society. And linking back, because if you recall, many people don't remember that it was the selling of the cows and the goats that sent many people to school, including myself at times. So, and it's important to understand that this is something that we're losing. As you talk about the history and the cultural, missing the cultural connections, you're seeing it in food. And I know I'm quoted in the press fairly often these days, usually when there's something that is not going to right. And I did make a comment about the fact that our students really not showing the affinity for local foods. And people say, well, boy, how can Case be producing all the agriculture students and they're not eating? But the reality is that this is a societal problem. And even though you try to encourage it, it will take a whole sea change. You have to create this cultural awareness to get people to understand the importance of their local foods. And explain to people why Jamaica never had an obesity problem until we start to eat all the imported stuff, all the processed food. We know of an obesity problem, but 30 years ago, you never had that issue. So it's important, when you approach me, I started looking in all kinds of different directions. I mean, I still pretend to be an academic for the most part. I'm immersed in management. But I find it so interesting that now we're trying to figure out, how do we make the food more attractive? Because the reality is that our kids are not eating bananas. Let us get up and understand the reality. We're still producing bananas, but they're not eating it. We're producing yams, but they're not really eating it. We're producing all cocoa and dashins. One of these are becoming almost extinct in terms of the Jamaican palate. And we're replacing that with what? With fries, with rice, with flour. If you look at your import bill, you show the connection with the economic situation. The import bill, a quarter of the import bill, in fact more than almost 40% of the import bill, is made up of the importation of rice, flour, corn for animal feed, and a couple others. So it's important to understand that what you're doing and what Joy is launching here, and going back to the philosophy of Marcus Garvey, really infuses throughout the entire society. And as an institution that primarily trains agriculturalists, we recognize the importance of us now looking to see how can we add our voices, how can we seek to change these cultural practices. Because I've said repeatedly, I've said it, that part is not captured, that we, in order for us to change the consumption patterns in Jamaica, you have to change the culture around that food consumption pattern. And so I point to people that while we eat fries, it is potatoes. But most students don't know that most young people don't know that fries is a potato that you plant in the ground. So it is really important to understand the same thing. So, and I recognize that importantly, it is what we're seeing with our young people now. You have to create new approaches to how you prepare the food. It can't be simply boiling the banana and yam and giving it to them. That don't work. It doesn't work. It's not working anywhere, right? But if you look at the pizza, it's the onions, and they eat all that, it's the pickles and whatever. But these are things that you produce on the ground. So it is that education that is re-education that's important, and we are committed to being a part of this. In addition to that, we are now recognizing the need and importance of technology in everything we do, because the reality is, colleagues and friends, even we talk about producing, reconnecting to local foods, if we're not producing it efficiently, so there the economics come right back again, then we're not going to survive. And if you look at our import data, we're importing more and more and more because our farmers are struggling to cope. And we're struggling to cope because we are still planting as we did 100 years ago. So the technology in the average farmer's hands is not different from 50, 60 years ago. And the question is, how do you change that technology mix? Assist the local farmer to start to produce more effectively so he can compete with imports. Because there was a time when Jamaica's markets were protected by duties. That changed in 1991. Much of what we import now is duty-free. So therefore, you can't hide behind a tariff wall. You have to produce in a way that's effective and that allows you to compete more effectively. Whether you're going to compete on taste, or you're going to compete on quality, or you're going to compete on price, but there has to be a mechanism to assist those farmers, and we're committed to doing that. And so part of our outreach efforts with our 18, 19 institutions is to try to see how they can assist us. How we can, I don't see, people always want to see what them get out of the picture. How we can work together to improve our respective populations in respect of our cultural, our cultural areas, because they are similar to us in many respects. This summer, for example, we brought in 53 students. Miss Williams, what was it? 50? It was 51 students. It was from peer review, from peer review. And what was interesting, they were almost all black students, because we also bring in students from other institutions, right? We usually get a mix of mostly white students. This is very interesting, and we took the time to immerse them in the Jamaican culture, and they were very surprised at the similarities that existed between Jamaican and themselves, and that history goes back, as you say, hundreds of years. So we are committed, and we certainly will work with you. There are many areas. For example, one of the discussions that we have had is to start to look at each of the parishes and to understand what are their food practices and how we can highlight that and promote that. So begin to expose our students in the agriculture sector, in the science faculty, to what it means really to be Jamaican. And you see it, the older folks among ourselves, and I'm now getting there, Professor Lewis, right? We now reminisce about these old-time food and food preparations, and people make these things about what it means to be Jamaican, and a lot of it is around the food that we eat, how we prepare the food, and so forth. So we really have to reconnect, and I take the point that we have not spent enough time listening to our students, and it's something that we are committed to try to also work to change, so that they themselves can help to chart the way forward. Because as we said here today, the point is made repeatedly, right? If we don't have a history of our past, and understand that bridge, that cultural connections, then as a people we are lost. And once you lose that cultural difference, then you become just ordinary. And as far as Jamaica is never ordinary. Jamaicans are never ordinary people, and you see it in every which way. But we have to make that extraordinary work for us, right? And we have to find a way to expose it, whether it is in food, it is in culture, it is other aspects of the culture, whether it is business. We have to make that work for us so that we can demonstrate to the world and to our young people coming up why we are who we are. Thank you.
Continuing with the greetings, Professor Rachel Irving. Professor Irving is the first professor of biochemistry and sports science at the University of the West Indies. Professor Irving studied at Brown University and Rockefeller University in the United States. She specializes in metabolic research and sports science with particular emphasis on how the body functions optimally. She has genotyped Jamaican and American Olympians including Herb McKinley, Arthur Wint, Juliet Cuthbert, Usain Bolt, Michael Johnson, Shelley Fraser Price, and Sharika Jackson, resulting in publications linking athletes in the Americas to lineages of West Africa. Professor Irving has published technical papers in the World Athletics Journal, New Studies in Athletics, and is a best-selling author of Jamaica Gold, Jamaica Sprinters. She is an anti-doping consultant who, with the World Anti-Doping Agency, the first university anti-doping course taught in the Caribbean. Professor Irving has a passion for the younger generation and hopes they will accelerate Jamaica so that the country becomes the center of sports science excellence where medicine, sports, and culture will combine to enhance the best in us. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and welcome Professor Rachel Irving.
So if I don't want to use this, I can put on. Good morning. Let me acknowledge Mr. Scott. Very well done. I'm pleased. Mr. Major White, thank you, sir. Miss Joy Douglas, Professor or Dr. Deslandes. I'm making you professor before you're a professor. And Professor Rupert Edwards, and all other distinguished ladies and gentlemen. You will be wondering what a medical science researcher is doing in this cultural forum, but science is absolutely important in culture. I want you to understand, and I want you to have certain questions in mind as I present. Can Jamaicans be geographically and culturally defined using science and medicine? What do you think? Are our cultural practices allowing us to survive health challenges in spite of our so-called poor scientific medical infrastructure? Did the cultural approach of Jamaican to COVID-19 facilitate a lower death rate than in developed countries such as Italy, Germany? Why did we have about a 2% death rate when Italy had a higher percentage? What scientific factors underpin the surprising performances in different events. My hypothesis is that culturally, the Jamaica DNA has been and is being refined by a series of past and present scientific events that brings out the best in us. We have yet to benefit, however, economically from what we have. How do we do this? Let's talk this story. Biogeographically, we look like West Africa. Europe sort of look different. It has the U6 gene, and it's sort of different. America is a mix of Europe and Africa. Where are we as Jamaican? Let's look at the transatlantic slave trade. We travel from, our ancestors traveled from West Africa to Jamaica. We were put in holes like slaves, but we survived. Some of us survived. And how did we survive? Let's look at the science. We had an adaptive metabolism that allowed us to survive in spite of. There was rapid circulation of oxygen, our muscle developed, our heart became big, and we survived. And we survived and we thrived. We became sprinter. We became the sprint capital of the world because of what we went through. So how did we survive the transatlantic slave trade? Looking at medicine, we had reduced oxygen, but our heart became hypertrophic. Our myoglobin worked in a way that it should not work. There was regeneration of organs. Our anatomy and physiology came, and we got biochemical advantages. And that makes us strong, very strong. So if you look at this picture, they put a group of people together. Many died, but we survived. We became good. But there were some bad things as well. We developed the heart condition, the lung condition. How do we treat this? Well, a group of us wanted to know if this was really true. So our slave masters or descendants of our slave masters, we engaged them. We engaged Glasgow. So Glasgow and the University of the West Indies came together to look at our pattern of muscular contraction and our chronic disease rate. And we found that based on the pattern, we are supposed to look like West Africa, West Central Africa. And we also found, because we did some American sprinters, we found that the American sprinters, black sprinters, tend to look like us. The American blacks, not sprinters, are a little bit different. Because it seems that after slavery, blacks were imported into the US. We found that our population are predominantly of West Africa descent. And if we look at the gene, the way we were pushed down and suppressed, we emerged with a fantastic gene, the actinin 3 gene. And it is involved in muscular contraction. And this is why Usain set the world record, because he got some of those genes from his ancestors. So, using biogeographic frequency chart, we found that, and we talk about the mothers, because sometimes our fathers, who we say our fathers are, they aren't. So we had to look at the mothers, because we were absolutely sure that's the DNA. So we look at the tracing from the mothers, right? And we found that our lineage was that of West Africa, West Central Africa. In the Black American population, not the sprinters, the other blacks, it was diverse. Their lineage sort of looked a little bit different. We looked at the world, and we found that we are somewhat different to Asia. US, because it's a mix, we are somewhat different. Ethiopia is in between, but we are close to West and West Central Africa. When we looked at the actinin 3 gene, and that is the gene that makes us run fast, we found that we are near to Nigeria. The US black sprinters are near to us. The US black aren't, they are mixed. They have some of our lineages, but it's not as close as it should be. But fascinatingly, what we found? Kenya, with the high Rift region, the Rift Valley, the high altitude, our lung is like Kenya. Guess how we got that lung strength? From the bottom of the ship. We didn't have oxygen, but we had to survive, and we survived. So with that comes something else. We survive, but we have a thing what we call actinin plus angiotensin converting enzyme gene, and that devastates us. In Africa, that gene is not as prevalent in the form that it is in the Caribbean. So when World Health Organization looked at the report, they found that Africa was infected, at least 65% with the COVID virus, but few of them died. How did they survive? But I want to tell you the Jamaican story. We have this bad form of the gene that predisposes us, ID, the polymorphism that predisposes us to a lot of disease. And they were expecting us in the Caribbean to die. But we survived. Our rate was less than Italy, Germany, and the UK, because we learned to survive with deficient oxygen. We got that adaptation of the gene from our foreparents. So in spite of, we will survive. So how did Jamaica respond to the challenges of COVID, sheer bravery in the midst of unknown inflammation? And why do I say this? Our girls went to Kenya. Our under 20 youngsters went to Kenya, and they set a relay record. They did well. My colleagues in Kenya called me because they have they had tested some of them, and 50% of that cohort was positive for COVID. Yet still, they set world record. So my colleague said to me, I don't understand. The Asians, the Americans, they are not doing it. What is this about Jamaica? And he said, listen, Rachel, can you do something for me? When they come back, can you just look at the blood profile? I wasn't convinced. I was like, I wonder if they're lying. When I got some of the youngsters, they said to me, Miss, we never have no COVID. Lie them a tell. I said, all right, they let us prove it. Took some blood off, took it to a colleague of mine at the hospital, and the inflammation in their system was frightening. They had COVID, yet they ran very, very well. How did we do this? Because in the bottom of the slave ship, our genes adapted a certain way. So in spite of what we are faced with, our system, some of us will collapse, but many of us survive. And this brings me to the economic benefit of using sports and science. We have places in Jamaica that we can have technology park. We can get Pfizer to look at us to see exactly how we are thriving and surviving and use our cell as marker cell. But our government and our people aren't marketing that part of it. And I leave you with this video that tells it all. I'm not playing the, oh, okay. That tells it all. That sums up my presentation.
I call you need you, my heart's on fire. You come to me wild and wild. You come to me, give me everything I need. Give me a lifetime of promises and a world of dreams. Speak the language of love like you know what it means. And it can't be wrong. Take my heart and make it strong. You're simply the best. Better than all the rest. Better than anyone. Anyone I ever met. I'm stuck on your heart. I hang on every word you say. Tears apart. Baby, I would rather be dead. In your heart, see the start of every night and every day. In your eyes, I get lost, I get washed away. Just as long as I'm here in your arms, I could be in no better place. You're simply the best. Better than all the rest. Better than anyone. Anyone I ever met. Ooh, I'm stuck on your heart. I hang on every word you say. Oh, tears apart. No, no. Baby, I would rather be dead. Each time you leave me, I start losing control. You're walking away with my heart and my soul. I can feel you even when I'm alone. Oh, baby, you never go.
I just want to make mention of this. We are privileged this afternoon. I think it's now afternoon. Right, we did say that we'll be here a little longer. We have some of the best among us in this room. And I just want us to just put our hands together for ourselves and those who have presented so far. And I don't believe that we are simple people. Just want to allude to the truth that we are extraordinary people. And so at this time, coming to us with greeting is the Honorable Olivia Grange, Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, but I believe that she has sent her representative, so I'll be inviting that person to come at this time.
Good afternoon, Master of Ceremony, Mr. Scott. I am Leslie Harrow, the Executive Director of the Institute of Jamaica, and also here representing the Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, the Honorable Olivia Grange, OJCD MP. I want to recognize Ms. Joy Douglas, OD, Deputy Chairman, Gertrude and John organization. I want to recognize Professor Rupert Lewis, Emeritus Professor, UWI, Garvey Scholar and author, and also our guest speaker. I want to recognize the Honorable Julius Garvey, who spoke earlier, OJ, son of the right, excellent, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, national hero. Recognize Major Ephraim White, OD, co-founder, Marcus Garvey in Schools Foundation. Dr. Deslandes, my lecturer in a master's program, who is the president of the College of Agriculture, Science, and Education, which is in the parish of my birth, Portland. Professor Rachel Irving, professor of biochemistry and sports science, Faculty of Medicine, University of the West Indies. Dr. Maria Smith, program coordinator, board member of the Institute of Jamaica. This other distinguished guests, Abijah Slas, our festival song competition winner. And ladies and gentlemen, a special good afternoon to you again. The Honorable Minister highlighted that she would like to start her brief remark by immediately state her support wholeheartedly for the effort of Miss Joy Eleanor Douglas and her son, Onika Quarry. I should never have started it, but I've allowed you to. I seek pronunciation on the internet, so I'm wrong. So I will leave it as is. Your wonderful son, who happens to come together with you to deliver on this project. And she said that with your program, Best in Us Jamaica, to keep the legacy of our first national hero, the Right Excellence Marcus Mosiah Garvey, alive through education of our youth about his life. It is of the greatest importance to inculcate in our youth the positive values and attitudes exemplified by the lives of our forefathers and the cultural heritage of this proud nation. It is for the benefits of all of us, but more so the young people, that the Best in Us Jamaica, inspired by life and philosophy of Marcus Mosiah Garvey, was conceptualized to educate us about our history and cultural heritage. As Garvey said, a people without the knowledge of their past history, origin, culture is like a tree without roots. One cannot help but to awed by the accomplishments of this one man, as pointed out in the proclamation signed on August 13th, 2012, by His Excellency the Honorable Sir Patrick Allen, Governor General of Jamaica, and read for us today by Major Ephraim White. Marcus Garvey worked tirelessly to uplift his race and humanity. Jamaican cultural icon Ronnie Williams wrote this about Garvey: "It is only left to be observed that any man who could make 1,000,000 men find themselves, rise from a crawling posture, and set their face to the sun is a great man. Garvey made millions of his race do this." The task of education is to prepare us today, young people, for tomorrow's citizens, helping them to develop into responsible, critical, and tolerant individuals, ready to become positive agents in national development. If we initiate children from all backgrounds in the beauty and value of our culture, we are showing them that this heritage is not only for the elite, but is open to all. Adhering to the principles of Garveyism, we must respect ourselves by promoting awareness of our identity, culture, history, and heritage. I will end, as started, on behalf of the Minister, and commend the effort being made by the mother and son team through the Best in Us program launched today here. I commit, says the minister, to supporting the Best in Us program through her activity at the Cultural Ministry of Jamaica. Happy Garvey Day. Thank you.
At this time, we'll be having a cultural item from Slash. And I have no doubt that it is going to be a slashing performance. And I have a slashing introduction. Born Donald Anderson is a singer, songwriter, actor, penthouse recording artist working with the great Donovan German. Performed on stage shows locally and internationally. 2012 Actor Boy Award winner, Best Actor in Lead Role. 2004 Top 10 finalist in the Festival Song Competition. 2023 Festival Song Competition winner with the song Best in the World. Ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome Slash with his slashing performance.
Morning, everyone. Without a doubt, Jamaica is the best in the world. And we prove it so many times in so many different aspects and facets of life, right? Miss Joy Douglas, thank you for this wonderful invitation. You have taught me a lot this morning about Marcus Garvey, more than I thought I knew. So give thanks to you and give thanks to the entire Massive for facilitating me this morning. Ready, let's go. Best in the world. Yes, man. All right. Turn it up and turn it up and turn it up. Cause 876 is my area code, try know that. Oh, everybody, Jamaica. Well, if you never know, well, now you know. Best in the world is Jamaica. We on and go, black, green and gold. We island is a masterpiece from the creator. So with a center, Masarova, Montego, I saw the flag them from anywhere. And we love, I give from above. I saw the eternal Father bless. Hey, glad to see me, you know what we ask one question. Jamaica in my blood, and I will never drop a gun, never tumble down. Jamaica firm and strong, where I would like to thank my ancestors for the freedom given to me. Spirit of culture, tacky and know. And we are the victory. Well, if you never know, well, now you know. Alright, best in the world in Jamaica. We on and go, black, green and gold. We island is a masterpiece from the creator. So with a maroon town, a river stony gun, we Jamaica the heritage is tough. And we love and give from above. I saw the eternal Father bless. Listen up, the blood of a slave was shed for me. Live my history. Liberation for the generation. That story of my glory is so to call yourself a Jamaican is to celebrate greatness in yours. Blue Mountain in my heart and Rio Grande in my soul. Well, if you never know, well, now you know. Alright, best in the world is Jamaica. We on and go, black, green and gold. We island is a masterpiece from the creator. So with a St. Thomas and over Montego Bay, push up the flag them from anywhere. And we love and give from above. I am the eternal Father bless. Hey. Come on, yes. I'm saying I love my Jamaica. Well, it is the land we love. Hey, you never know, now you know. Alright, best in the world is Jamaica. We on and go, black, green and gold. We island is a masterpiece from the creator. Hey, when I say Thomas and over Montego Bay, I saw the flag them from anywhere. And we love and give from above. I saw the eternal Father bless. Again, from the city, you know what we ask one question. Jamaica in my, and I will never drop a drum, never tumble down. Jamaica firm and strong. I would like to thank my ancestors for the freedom given to me. Spirit of culture, tacky and well, we are the victory. Well, if you never know, well, now you know, yes. That's still the way in Jamaica. Red and gold, black, green and gold. We are not in the masterpiece of the creator. So with us in Thomas, sorrow, until away. I don't feel like it's from anywhere. And we love and give from above. I am the eternal Father. It is the land we love and give from above. I am the eternal Father of it. The land we love and give from above. I am the eternal Father of it. Hey, big up this child of the last every time. 876 is my age, I coach like you, man. Love and respect, my name is Flash. Give thanks, blessings to everyone. My respect.
Can we give him a better hand? At this time, we'll be having our guest speaker, Professor Rupert Lewis, Emeritus Professor, University of the West Indies, Garvey Scholar and author. Dr. Rupert Lewis is Professor Emeritus of Political Thought in the Department of Government at the University of the West Indies, Jamaica, and he has served as Research Fellow in the P.J. Patterson Institute of African Caribbean Advocacy at UWI. He has earned an international reputation as a scholar of the Garvey movement. In 2018, his biography of Marcus Garvey was published in the UWI Press Caribbean Biography Series, and his biography of Walter Rodney is forthcoming. In addition, he is the author of Walter Rodney's Intellectual and Political Thought, and has edited books on George Padmore, the Trinidadian-born Pan-Africanist, and Richard Hart, the Jamaican Marxist. He is a member of Jamaica's National Council on Reparation. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Dr. Rupert Lewis, Professor Emeritus. Please make him welcome.
Thank you very much, Prince Scott Edwards. And I can see why Joy really emphasize the importance of youth. And your chairing today's event is certainly demonstrates the quality of your leadership in this audience. And so I can endorse what Joy has been saying to me over the years that we have been talking about this project. I can see its manifestation today in how she constructed the event. All the speakers have been excellent. My colleagues, Professor Rachel Irving, Dr. Deslandes, now one of our leaders in terms of the College of Agriculture. My colleague, Major Ephraim White, who I work with in the Garvey in Schools project. And of course, Joy herself, and the focus that she has on science and technology is very much in keeping with the work that the Garvey sons took on for themselves. You heard the introduction of Julius, but you may not know that the first son, Dr. Marcus Garvey Jr., did maths and physics at UWI, and in the 1980s was a pioneer in fiber optics cable communication technology. I have correspondence from him to that effect. Really extraordinarily gifted person. So I think you are spot on in science and technology. And I appreciated Dr. Deslandes' discussion of the relationship between culture, food, and agriculture. Very important for us to understand it. As he spoke, I thought of my grandson and his eating habits. And the eating habits are just what you described. So we have some serious problems to do. The link you make between our habits culturally in terms of what we eat and our import bill shows the need for us when we are thinking about these problems, the link between culture, economics, and personal habits. I was glad that Joy did the clip on Amy Jakes Garvey, because it's 50 years this year, July, that she passed. And I regard her as my graduate teacher, because from 1967 to the time of her death in 73, she was the person I visited every week, and in the last 2 or so years, I lived in the back room that she had built to store the books that she was publishing, and they were sold out by that time, so I moved into the back room as her research assistant. And she was a phenomenal human being. This year marks 100 years since she edited the Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Garvey. Without her, that would not have come out. We would know less about Garvey. But posthumously, the 2 books that I worked with her are not as well known. But one of these, she collaborated with the African American scholar John Henry Clark. And John Henry Clark published in 1974 Marcus Garvey and the Vision of Africa. And that brought together materials that I had worked on that were at the National Library of Jamaica at the time. And many people really were not aware of Garvey's Jamaican contribution. The other book that she worked on, and which came out after she died in 1977, was More Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Garvey, Volume 3, which she edited with the Nigerian professor Essien Udom. So the importance of her work and her passion and her knowledge. The final thing I'd mention about her is that in 1973, the African Studies Association of the West Indies organized the first international conference on Marcus Garvey. And that was organized by 2 people on this campus. Dr. Arthur Drayton, Trinidadian, who had studied at who had taught at the University of Ibadan in Nigeria, and my wife, Professor Maureen Warner-Lewis. And that was the last time that Amy Garvey made a big presentation. Now, let me just put my timer on so that I don't keep you from your midday meal. Joy's Best in Jamaica is similar to Marcus Garvey's concept of a new Jamaica. And the new Jamaica concept is what I want to speak about today. Garvey's template for a new Jamaica. Because he had this vision that Jamaica could be created anew, that Jamaica, as it had been an enslaved island, as so many other parts of the Caribbean, that the people themselves had to recreate the island to meet their own needs. How does one conceive of Jamaica as a nation? The conventional approach has been that Jamaica is a nation of many races, and we must learn to live together. This approach deflects from the legacies of 300 years of slavery and colonialism. Jamaica is over 90% of African descent, whereas Indians and Chinese born in Jamaica claim their racial ancestry as Indians and Chinese. most black Jamaicans identify only with the nation as Jamaicans and not with their race. This hides a deep-seated intergenerational revulsion for Africa and underlines the ambiguity and ambivalence identified in the post-independence writings of Rex Nettleford and Barry Chevans. They identified that black Jamaica, the negative and ambiguous position that black Jamaicans have towards blackness and Africans. Jamaicans are to some extent still troubled by Peter Tosh's compelling lyric, no matter where you come from, as long as you're a black man, you're an African. And here I'd like to commend the cultural contributors, because the cultural contributors today in music come from a tradition that has been most assertive about our identity. And I'm glad they play an equal role to all of the other presenters today in terms of our marking the legacy of Garvey. We must unlearn ideas of inferiority, that anything black no good, that a lighter skinned person is better looking than we are, that we should bleach. We must unlearn weak self-confidence, lack of self-confidence, the lack of self-respect and regard for others. Garvey addressed all these issues in his talks with the Jamaican people, and he embraced his African roots. Part of the change that is necessary is the teaching of African history as part of the background to Caribbean history. 1.6 million Africans, according to the latest data that I have seen, came to Jamaica through the transatlantic slave trade. This is the latest from the Brattle report by Judge Patrick Robinson. And of course, we know that what Professor Rachel Irving told us about survival, we also had a big decline and death. The tradition in Jamaica, on Jamaican plantations, was to work people to death and replace them. The tradition in the US was more reproduction. So there's a difference there in terms of how they dealt with the slave trade. Now, Garvey was a pioneering development economist and advocate for what he called a new Jamaica. He even published a newspaper called The New Jamaican from 1932 to 1933. In consultation with the Jamaican people, he developed a program for the economic, social, cultural, and political development of his island home. This program was developed in 1929 and formed the basis for the People's Political Party campaign in the 1930 election for the Legislative Council. There are 12 points that I want to just enumerate from Garvey's focus on how do we build a new Jamaica. Economics has to take first place in any conception of a new Jamaica, because employment, what we eat, our health situation, or education situation, that's the foundation. So I always think it's important to link discussion about identity with discussion of economics. And the 12 points in brief that I'll go through quickly, just enumerating them: protection of native labor, protection of our working people. Secondly, minimum wage, a standard below which people must not fall. Thirdly, a law to protect the working and laboring classes of the country by insurance against accidents, sickness, and death occurring during employment. Fourthly, an 8-hour working day throughout Jamaica. Fifth, land reform, central point. 6, a law to encourage the promotion of native industries, local industries. moving away from the sugar banana export agriculture of the plantation. 7, a law to compel the employment of not less than 60% of native labor in all industrial, agricultural, and commercial activities engaged in the island. 8, the establishment by the government of an electrical system to supply cheap electricity to such growing and prosperous centers as are necessary. 9, the compulsory improvement of urban areas from which large profits are made by trusts, corporations, combines, and companies. 10, a law to prevent criminal profiteering in the sale of lands in urban and suburban areas to the detriment of the expansion of healthy home life of citizens of moderate means, profiteering such as has occurred in Lower St. Andrew by heartless land sharks. As an urban planner, Joy, you will understand this in terms of, well, we all understand it in terms of real estate, mortgage, and housing. 11, a law to empower the parochial boards of each parish to undertake, under the direction of central government, the building of model sanitary homes for the peasantry by a system of easy payment over a period from 10 to 20 years. And in this case, one of Garvey's big concern at that time, Jamaica had a big tuberculosis problem. And housing was central to his conception of how we provide better sanitary conditions for the health of the population. Finally, a law to empower the government to secure a loan of $3 million, £3 million, and this was to finance some of the development that was taking place. This particular loan of $3 million to be used by the government under the management of the Department of the Director of Agriculture in developing the crown lands of the island, agriculturally and otherwise, with the object of supplying employment of our surplus unemployed population. Let me end those 12 points. Garvey followed this up with 2 memoranda in 1934 and 1938 to Governor Denham of Jamaica and the British Secretary of State for the Colonies, respectively. Among the initiatives he took before leaving the island for good in 1935 was the establishment of what he called the Permanent Jamaica Development Convention. This convention had an all-island meeting in the parish of St. Andrew from the 3rd to the 12th September 1934, which was attended by delegates from the different parishes and which discussed more seriously and thoroughly the socioeconomic and educational conditions of the island. Let me just emphasize Garvey's importance, the importance he attached to consultation. These were not simply ideas that he sat in his bedroom and spoke about and concocted, but it was in consultation with the people on the ground, so that their thinking, his thinking, would coalesce in order to present a program which could only be sustained by their own interests. This convention took place on the centenary of West Indian emancipation from slavery in 1834. So this is an initiative, therefore, anchored in what I call the politics of freedom that the colonial system had deliberately frustrated. The 1934 memorandum outlined a development program for Jamaica and a request for £10 million, which in current value would amount to £656 million. This was to be a long-term loan of some 40 years that would partially be paid for by a tax on all properties sold in the island or transferred from one owner into the next within the period of the loan. The preamble to the 1934 memorandum contended the conditions socially and economically now prevailing in Jamaica are of such as to be regarded with alarm, seeing that tens of thousands of the inhabitants are out of employment. This was the period of the Great Depression of 1929 to 33. Industrial output in the Western capitalist world had shrunken by nearly 40%. Agricultural output dropped by over 1/3. Thousands of banks crashed and currency depreciated in over 56 countries. Unemployment had gone up and throughout Western Europe and the United States. And between 1930-34, over 30,000 migrants returned to Jamaica to live in bad conditions. So it was a crisis that was underway. The core points of the Jamaica Permanent Development Convention to meet the crisis were education, land ownership, model homes, banking and agriculture, infrastructural development, trade commissioners to promote Jamaica's exports, marketing and advertising, and the development of tourism. Garvey had a particular interest in the development of health tourism because he felt that the spas could be developed in Milk River and Bath, which we have today, and he had that dimension of tourism in addition to obviously the beach tourism, which has been developed to a great extent. Top of Garvey's crisis plan was education. And I consider him a pioneer in the advocacy for social sciences in the Caribbean. And the reason, and I quote from him, he wanted to improve education, including vocational training. Very strong in his thinking. The development of a board of lecturers, especially trained to lecture on subjects of social sciences, political economy, and I'm quoting him, economics, ethnology, and sociology. And that one lecturer be allotted to each parish to travel through that parish regularly as his employment, lecturing from day to day in villages, districts, towns, and all convenient centers, thereby reaching the entire population of the parish within a reasonable period of time each month. So this is his conception of the academy, is that an academy whose academicians are out in rural and urban Jamaica. They are not cloistered within the confines of the university. So Professor Rachel Irving and her scientific work will be out there in, this is the timer, I'm going to wrap up, will be out there in the villages of the country because he's seeking to raise the level of education of the population. And he's not interested only in the cultivation of a few bright Rhodes Scholars or scholarship winners. He wants to raise the level of our population. He also talks about a university, and that Jamaica must establish a university with a capital of £1 million to prosecute complete courses in the sciences and the arts. So a combination between of those two. This is what the British responded to his memorandum. The British response was, I should hardly think Jamaica would be ready for this for a good many years to come. And the island's leading newspaper had opined in an editorial a few years before, and I quote from the leading newspaper, The Gleaner, the whole crux of the problem lies not in the question as to where the money is to be found, to establish a university that will be worth the name. But in the question as to what value will be attached to a degree granted by second-rate men and women in the West Indies, so long as the London degrees are obtainable in the West Indies, we cannot see any reason for this island, which cannot even afford to pave all the streets of its capital properly, to go to the enormous expenditure which the establishment of a university involves. So, you know, when we say Garvey was ahead of his time, he is thinking Joy Douglas's thoughts 80 years before Joy Douglas in 2023 is having this particular function, which brings together distinguished academics, Deslandes, Professor Irving, and this distinguished group of students from KISS, and all of you, head of our library, Dr. Paulette Carr. We are all products of Garvey's vision. Let me conclude by simply saying that I endorse fully what Joy Douglas has been speaking to me about for some years now. And I can now see why I have to be on board with this project. Thank you very much.
As I sat and I listened to the guest speaker and those who presented before him, the thought came to me and I had to write it down. The word best is absolute, which means there is no competition. And so if we desire to maintain the best and produce the best, we must not forsake the rich heritage and legacy of our heroes, because they have worked relentlessly to build this. And so let us begin to reach and to teach the youth of our society the values that have been made for us to be the best, so that they can improve on themselves and establish on that and build on that which was already established, so that we can maintain being the best. Ladies and gentlemen, it was my pleasure being your master of ceremonies. You have been a wonderful audience, and I trust that the rest of your afternoon will be great. At this time, I turn it over to Miss Joy Douglas. Thank you.
Well, I'm back. And just for the record, my son's name is Onyekwere Chukwuemeka Iyukomere. You're going to hear more of this name. When I used to take him to the doctor when he was a child, you know, Professor Gray was his pediatrician. And when he would go for his checkup, we knew it was his term, and Professor Gray came out of his office himself. And once we saw him standing there, I would say, Anya, it's your turn. Because nobody tried to pronounce his name. Onyekwere Chukwuemeka Iyukomere, full Igbo, Nigerian name. That is my beloved son, in whom I am well pleased. So, you will be hearing more, because he is actually the chairman of Gertrude and John, because this is his legacy. And we are working together as mother and son to make this happen. I really would like to thank you all for coming today and for staying with us throughout. And I see this as just another phase of this process. It is very difficult for me to explain But I could almost say that it's as if the ancestors are speaking. If you get into deep philosophy, you know that everything, and this is a science now, has a vibration. Everything has a vibration. And I can tell you that Jamaica has a specific vibration that cannot be matched anywhere else in the world. But we do not understand this vibration because we do not understand our history. And I'll give you one example. Do you know that Jamaica is not a creation in the British realm of conquest of the British Crown? Did you know this? Who in here knows this? Jamaica is the island of Oliver Cromwell. No, there was no king in England in 1655. No king was there. It was a commonwealth. Sounds familiar? There was no king. So the men who came here did not come here to defend a king. They came here to extend the commonwealth. And this is why Jamaica's history from the very beginning in terms of the British realm is very different. It is the only island of Cromwell in the empire, because we know what happened to Oliver Cromwell and the Commonwealth. So there's so much that has happened to Jamaica. And let me speak about the George Lyle the Elder. How many persons have heard of George Lyle the Elder? Who founded the Baptist Church? Came here as a free black man. And what does this have to do with Marcus Garvey? Say you? Marcus Garvey revered George William Gordon. If you understand the history of George William Gordon and Paul Bogle, it goes back to George Lyle. Why is that? Because they were Ethiopian Baptists. And they were Ethiopian Baptists because George Lyle, the first black minister in the American colonies, evacuated to Jamaica from Georgia. When? In 1783. So I'm saying this to say that even with respect to the start of the real Christian faith in Jamaica, other than the Church of England, and I must confess, I'm an Anglican, colonial church, union history and all. But we here owe a lot to George Lyle the Elder. I am a devotee of George Lyle the Elder. And because he, in fact, is directly related and connected to Marcus Garvey. It's a lineage. We need to understand how our history evolved. Now, why I'm going to leave you with that. George Lyle came here with some Negro spirituals from the States. And when I saw the title of one of them, I said, but this really should be the national anthem of Jamaica. Do you know what the title of the Negro spiritual is? No man can hinder me. That is the title of the Negro spiritual. When I saw, I said, somebody was really singing a hymn saying, no man can hinder me. And he brought that there from the colonies. Does not sound like a Jamaican? No man can. So this spirit that we have, and I'm going to give my friend Professor Irving a little shock, which I'm giving to people through DNA. Do you know that many of you in here are possibly Americans? So when she finds in terms of the DNA, the connection with the sprinters, why is that? Thousands of blacks evacuated with the British to Jamaica after 1776 and the Revolutionary War. Did you know this? So there are many of us, and I've done my DNA, and I'm connected to people in this, particularly in the southern United States, the blacks, a lot of white ones who when you contact them, they say, you can hear them in their living rooms, no, because of course they're like 100% white, ho, 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 ho. But the point is, this is why I'm telling you, this country is a powerhouse, because I am related to people in America who write to tell me that there's no way they could be related to me. These are blacks now, you know, because nobody in their family ever went anywhere, let alone to Jamaica. Said, well, little did you know, somebody evacuated with George. You understand? And then many of them then also became Maroons. So the Second Maroon War has a very strong connection with that whole development there. So Garvey in St. Anne, do we know where the letter to the Queen came from before what we call the Morant Bay Rebellion? Where did the letter come from? From St. Anne. So there is just so much that we don't know, that we all really just need to pull together. Isn't this exciting, people? You don't find it exciting? I can't stop. So this function is just the beginning. And I'm saying to you that come with us. Come with us. We are really going to create the new Jamaica, because I tell you, I'm tired of some of what is going on here. It is really tiring and unnecessary. We need to come together as a society and get certain things done. So I would really like to close by thanking the University of the West Indies for facilitating this event. Whether through my colleagues at the main library here, a facility that I used extensively when I was on campus. So this 75 years now. I suppose it's part of the celebration too. And Professor Irving and her faculty have also, as collaborators, come in to join us. Professor Lewis is emeritus, and he and I go way back. We won't say how long, because I just graduated there about maybe 15 years ago. Yeah, I just graduated, So we won't say how far back, but we'll go back far. And as I was saying to him, he now discovers that I was really listening in his class. He never thought that. But I really wish to thank the university, and this is what the university really needs to be doing. I really have to throw down the gauntlet. My old department, geography, looks the same way as when I graduated just 10 years ago. And we need to do more. We need to do more. So let this be also, it may be fortuitous that this is happening here, a revival of this university. It is really just limping along. Trust me when I tell you. Limping. It used to be so much more vibrant, and so we need to do something about that. So I'd really like to thank the university. I would like to thank the Minister of Culture, the minister, as well as the ministry. But I have to personally thank the Minister of Culture, Honorable Olivia Babs-Grange, who some in here would know she's like a sister to me. I consider her my big sister. As she is to many people, but she really has been very supportive throughout and continues to be supportive. The Institute of Jamaica has been very helpful, and I'd like to acknowledge the Institute. Mrs. Prudence Kidd Deans, who was kind enough, who could not be here, but is kind enough to have arranged refreshments that you're no doubt going to have after we break. And I see my good friend in the back there, Mr. Denniston Balfour, who I would really like to thank for his confidence and support. And I know that more will be coming, because he has come and seen today that, you see, there's always the thing, as Derek says, about the quantification. But, I once saw a movie to say that, the most dangerous person is not the man with millions, it is the man with the idea. Because when you cannot kill an idea, you are really in trouble. So it is, ideas change the world. Visions change the world. And this is what Marcus Garvey, I am so happy for him, because you realize that whatever you believe, he lives on. He lives on through us, because he was so honest about what he was trying to do. And it's something that we all need to emulate. So if I have not mentioned your name, let me thank you anyway. And of course, ultimately, I would like to thank the presenters, who were all excellent, lived up to expectations. But anybody who associates with me knows that more work is coming, because the success breeds more work. And we're not stopping here, we are going to work. The technical staff from the University of the West Indies who were here, it's 48 hours, because they were here yesterday. They came very early this morning, and it went off without a hitch. Our two performers who have left us, I think did an excellent job. And as was said earlier, the matter of the performing arts and culture is something that people now forget is actually very closely associated with Marcus Garvey. A lot of people do not realize, which is why Ranny Williams was so supportive of Marcus Garvey, because as Miss Lou said, Ranny was part of that whole cultural movement that Marcus Garvey promoted. So let us commit to reclaiming what we have allowed to lie dormant. So I thank you again, and please enjoy the refreshments and have a wonderful day, and ensure that you cross over the passage into the main library, into the catalog hall to look at the exhibition. The exhibition will be up for a month, so particularly for the students, if you want to come back, if Derek will bring you back, because it's quite a bit of information, but you, particularly the students from CASE, will understand that you are really sitting on very, very important history. And we, when I get on with your president, will be putting you to work too, because you have a role to play. Do you know that Tuskegee was built by the students? How many of you know that? The Tuskegee University. Physically, because Booker T. Washington had a philosophy that no student, irrespective of whether they could afford it or not, was going to escape manual labor. So it didn't matter how rich you were when you came to Tuskegee. You had to learn to do bricklaying, carpentry, something, in order to understand the value of work and the value of industry and the value of producing something with your hands. That was a fundamental philosophy of of Tuskegee. Now I don't know what it is because I met a young man there at Case. What's his name? Alexander? Mr. Alexander? The young man who took me around. What? Alexander. See, I can't even forget his name. Brilliant young man. Who knows Mr. Alexander at Case? Who knows him? Everybody knows Mr. Isn't he a brilliant young man? But then I said to Mr. Alexander, where is your land that you're farming? Have you gotten some land for him yet? He said, this is the thing about the society. How can you be training a young man, a brilliant young man like that, and you don't say give him an acre or two to farm? But this is how we're wasting the talent of our young people. So we are going to do something, people. We need to answer the cry, yes. And people like Brian, so these people know me, you know, when I get on to something, you know, you can't stop me. And if they can't understand how I'm still going, but it's in the genes that, Dr. Irving, it's in your genes. Your ancestors rise up in you and say, time now. So I'm answering that call. So thank you all again. Thank you for coming, and enjoy the rest of the day.
Well, me say teach them you been through hills and valley and survive out of the old gangster alley. Enough gunshot teach them skip and dolly. When them think we dead back in the juggling, we rally. We hold them and pop it off. Bogus badge where we rip off. And then how you get the front stripe, take it off. Come and get the front badge, rip off. Teach them you come and rip it off. Louis Culture say Anna is the banner. Teach them, teach them.
I am here vibing with one of the most prolific hit makers in the history of Jamaica's entertainment industry. His parents named him Louis Brown, but we know him as
Louis Gangali Culture.
Father Louis.
Yes, King.
All is well, sir.
All is blessed and good.
It's a joy, brother.
It's a honor to my brother.
Give thanks, give thanks.
Well, teach them is like a puzzle where fi figure and hard not fi crack. A real nerve digger straight from Jam Rock. Them call him dirty nigger, true him never go slack. A smiling on him face, a waffle stabbing on the back. But we not bow down low, you must be mad, we could not do that. Foundation from birth, although the running slow. Teach them you have to reach pan top, we know where life hurt. Where them say bow down low, you must be mad, we could not do that. Foundation from birth, although the running slow. Teach them how you them could never stop. You know where life hurt. Louis Culture, Louis Gangali Culture say teach them. Lock it.
Teach them. Always make sure the message I reach them.
Father Culture.
Yes,
Gangali. Say everything is good.
Everything blessed, man. Everything good.
Talk to us though. Early life, place of birth.
Well, let me tell you about me, myself, and I. The old Gangalia where no guy can fry, I just me, myself, and I. Me comfy, tell you the truth, me not go tell you no lie. It was a Thursday, the 9th of May, 9 o'clock, 1968, the year to be exact. Born round a Penny Corner, Windsor Forest, Hilltop, in the parish of Portland, Sweet Jamrock. It was a home delivery, coconut, kayak. Me never born in no hospital, for no Christmas truck. No pharmaceutical, it was some herbal docs. The ones where know about the truth and the facts. The mama tell me everything. From the day me born, me a king. A matter of fact, from me born, me a sing. All when Auntie Ella a cut my navel string. She said put God first in everything you're doing. That's why me have to pray before me write pan rhythm. Could have put on the cardi right or even slim thing. You want hear more?
Windsor Paris.
Yes, sir.
Portland.
Portland.
Home delivery.
Yeah, man, with the boat land.
Mad thing, Portland with the Portland. Are the bodies. Where your man, we get that. Probably I know. Bad brother.
Yes,
so, you grew up in Portland.
Yeah, man.
Countryman, so to speak.
Yes, man.
Yes. How many siblings?
Well, me have 10 brothers and 4 sisters.
Yeah?
So, you know
everybody have a mommy and daddy are outside?
No, my father is, you know, call him a top shotter there.
Yeah?
So him outside. And my mother have 3 children before she meet my father.
Okay. Yeah. And all your siblings are still around?
No. About 2 of them died.
My condolences.
Yeah, man.
Mommy and daddy still?
No, mommy and daddy.
Both of them Tradan?
Tradan.
Condolences again, brother.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah? What was it like growing up from a financial perspective, though?
Well,
back then?
to tell you the truth, I can't tell a lie. I never known, from the barn, I never know hungry until I reach Kingston. Understand?
Yeah?
Yeah, my born and grew in Portland. We had plum tree in my yard, we have mango, we have jackfruit, we have all kind of fruits, conch nut and these things. So